The cob stallion was Salvador. Louis and the Darwin of Hackney horses and ponies, Frank Hayden, would use Salvador on Hackneys to breed show-jumping ponies. Two successes of this relation were Billy Boy, a JA that made the British team, including competing at the European Championships, and the second was Michael, who won amongst numerous championships the Juvenile National Championships in 1960. Both of these ponies were ridden by a young man called John Mazzarella. The Mazzarella family have had many connections to the horse world, and Ronnie, one of Louis' brothers, was well known by, of course, the whole show jumping world, literally worldwide. Ronnie was chef to keep of the British show jumping team for many successful years. During the 50s and 60s, Louis worked hand in hand with his brother Michael, who was also a very good horseman and was very keen in the show jumping field. Louis was also thinking about ways to improve stock, and he came to the conclusion that many of the English mares around at the time were too light and needed breeding with horses of substance to acquire young stock with bone. This conclusion prompted a trip to Germany as long ago as 1955. He liked what he saw and set out to find the best. This resulted in the acquisition of the first imported stallion, Ferdy and Duelist, two classically bred Hanoverians. Their arrival caused quite a stir, as horses with this degree of quality and movement, coupled with substance and power, were largely unknown in Britain. Duelist was subsequently sold to the kids and competed as an international dressage horse. Mabel Duelist, ridden by Jane Kidd, and was very influential in the early days of British dressage breeding, especially through his sons, Mabel Jewell, who became one of the foundation studs of the BWBS, and Louis was far-sighted breeder who had a wonderful eye for a horse, but also had the ability to produce stock for a specific job. He had that rare combination of being both a horseman and a businessman. He maintained the balance of the stud and would never buy without having a good idea of the horse's market potential. Sadly, Michael, Louis' brother, died during the first years of importing Hanoverians. But Louis continued to develop the breeding lines that two of them introduced back in the 50s. The Louella Stud has had great successes with their Hanoverians, which have included the imported styles Gandolfo, Vendicus, Luciana, and Vola, exported to Australia, the Grade A Temple Felsen, the Warm Blood champions Andanus and Vendica. Undoubtedly the most famous of them all is Inshallah II, who holds and supports the British Breeding Lifetime Achievement Award and is the only stallion to have ever featured in the top 5 of all 3 disciplines. To name but a few of Inshallah's successful stock is the sire of dressage horse Out of the Ordinary, Byzantine, Rainford Louis, all out of Louella mares. He also sired Advanced Aventers, C'est Moi, Just a Lula, Mr. Bruff, all out of Louella sired mares, and Grade A's, City Slick, No Complaints, and the brilliant Valhalla. However, Louis has always loved the thoroughbred. He was constantly searching for athletic thoroughbreds with size and substance, and above all, of course, good fertility. In the late 70s, he burst on the former HIS, now Sport Horse of Great Britain, of course, with the famous thoroughbred Louella stallions. They won the King George V Supreme Championship on 10 occasions, and the MacDonald Buchanan Trophy for the best new stallion 11 times. The stud's principal eventing sires in the early days were Sovereign King and Horworthy, who was succeeded by his son, another Horworthy, homebred out of an evening trial mare, plus Sisto, Bustiki, Bohemond, Barley Hill, Criminal Law, Lord David S, Sanat Hanny, and Queen Soldier. What a record. Many top horses have been bred along the way, sired by stallions that started their stud career as Louella horses. They include the great King Boris, Mary King, the ever-consistent Mr. Braggan, 3 times in the top 7 at Badminton, twice in the top 6 at Burley with Andrew Hoy, the Cephalogist, 2nd at Burley, 3rd at Badminton, Pasadena, Beau Fred, as well as 13 horses that have run at Burley International Horse Trials in 2004 alone. 13 horses in Burley 2004 from the Louella breeding. Over the years, Louella Stud has been connected to over 40 Burghley Young Event Horse finalists, including 6 champions. That again, an outstanding record. However, the star event sire from Louella has been Primitive Rising. What a fine Primitive Rising turned out to be. He was a leading national hunt sire with offspring such as More Lane, Paper Rising, Surprising, and the Cheltenham Festival winner, Go Inform. He was also a prolific sire of eventers, winning 8 British Horse Foundation Awards and siring the winners of the Burghley Young Event Horse on 5 occasions. His advanced horses include Primitive Control, 6th at Badminton, 7th at Burghley, and competed for Great Britain at the 2002 European Championship. Primitive Street, 8th at Bramham and Nakar, Jurassic Rising, Limestone Rise, and young stars, including, we've already heard tonight, King's Temptress, and the current national novice champion, Cool Mountain, ridden by William Fox Pitt. Primitive Rising is 8th in the British eventing list of all-time sires. He is also the sire of Port Patrick, who was bred by Louella, a multiple hunter champion, including the top UK bred 4-year-old at the Royal Show in 2005. Although Primitive Rising is no longer with us, his frozen semen is still available. Primitive Star and Primitive Proposal are 2 exciting sons of the great Primitive Rising. The athleticism and the temperament combined with the extravagant movement have made him such a popular sire. Primitive Proposal, as ridden by Emily Chandler, has been competed lightly for a couple of seasons, combined with standing at stud. And Louella has the full sister by Primitive Star, Primitive Posy, who's been very successful in the show ring and has produced a lovely filly, Louella Delphine, by Donax, so the dynasty is ensured. We shouldn't overlook that Louella has stood some outstanding Irish drum stallions who were the first stud to import American paint horses in the UK in 1991. The Louella Stud is initially based in Thirsk in Yorkshire, but moved of course to Hucklescote in Leicestershire in 1999. Louella stallions have been exported in America, Germany, Australasia, Italy, Belgium, Denmark, Sweden, Ireland and many other parts of the world. In Ireland, Louis was dubbed Stallion Man of the Century after exporting 7 thoroughbred stallions to Ireland in 1 year. In fact, Ferdy, the original Hanoverian stallion found by Louis, was head-opened by none other than Paul Schockenhauer and exported back to Germany as an 11-year-old. In 1990, Louis was the first person to export a horse to Russia since the 1917 revolution. That was the TV thoroughbred stallion White River. The fame of the Louella Stud is far-reaching indeed. The Louella Stud has always been a family affair, and Louis Sr. handed over the day-to-day running of the stud to Mandy, his daughter, with Lucy, his granddaughter, assisting. Mandy's brother, Louis Jr., also takes a very keen interest in the stud, despite his outside business interests. Chief Stallion Man is Jonathan Dodd, and together they form an enormously strong team to continue the legacy left by the great Louis Sr. The Louella Stud is still standing exceptional stallions and producing performance-winning progeny. Louis Mazzarella Jr. provided much of the background information and photographs for us tonight. And in his letter he wrote, "It would have been lovely if Dad were here to see it. Although I'm sure with his influence upon us all, he'll be watching over us." We're delighted to have with us tonight, ladies and gentlemen, Lucy Gillingham, granddaughter of the founder of Louella Stud, who I'd like to invite now to the stage to accept the Merial Meritoire from Dr. Emma Batson on behalf of the Louella Stud. Lucy Gillingham. Wonderful work for British breeding. Let's stand and celebrate with Louella Stud. Come on, they deserve it. Come on.